goals here was being, NHS is a co-lead organization for the Working Cities Challenge grant. And this is made up of a bunch of different individuals and partners. And the other co-lead for the Working Cities Challenge grant is the Hispanic Coalition, which is led by Victor Lopez, Alderman Victor Lopez. So I just want to give a little background on the Working Cities Challenge grant. As some of you may know about the Working Cities Challenge grant, this was something that was initiated by the Boston Feds, and they were looking at Connecticut, I believe, to be the second state that they were going to work in. I believe the previous one was Massachusetts, and then they came to Connecticut. And they selected 16 cities and towns throughout Connecticut to participate in this particular initiative. And of course, Waterbury is one of them. And when the city, it had to be a partnership or a collaboration between the municipality, nonprofit organizations, and corporations. And so there was a conversation that was had at City Hall among all those who were interested, and the group was formed. And as I stated earlier, Victor Lopez of the Hispanic Coalition and NHS were chosen to be the co-leads for this. And so one of the things that we were trying to figure out is what would be something to focus on. And so we looked at five different neighborhoods. I know it's the Crown Brook, New Pack, Wow neighborhood, South End, and Brooklyn. And we pulled up all the stats regarding population and race and educational attainment, home ownership, unemployment, poverty, various different things, and even some of the pros and cons as far as assets are concerned in that particular neighborhood, in those particular neighborhoods. And one of the things, as we were looking up all of these stats, one thing we noticed was that Waterbury's unemployment rate was decreasing over time as a city as a whole, but in one particular neighborhood, in one particular census tract, it was increasing over the years. And so that's what we decided to focus on. And it was our goal as far as the Waterbury Working Cities Challenge initiative is to reduce the unemployment rate of residents and the residents of the South End neighborhood, which is particularly focusing on Census Tract 3505 from its current 20% to 12% in 10 years. And this will, and the way we were going to achieve this was through continued higher education and specific career skills training to achieve livable wage jobs. And at the current, and right now, that livable wage is $21.52 in the city of Waterbury. Census Tract 3505 has a population of 2,769 and is overwhelmingly residents of color. Latinos make up 74.3%, and African Americans make up 13.4%. And the median household income is $22,862. Now, I want to, as I'm spewing out these numbers and these statistics, just keep in mind these are not updated. We have not gotten to that point to update it based off of the newest census information. So we need to do that. So this is previous. My assumption is due to COVID and the impact that it had on Black and Brown communities, these numbers may even be higher. Waterbury's unemployment rate, as I was stating earlier, it was at 6.3% and remains one of the highest in the state, whose average is 5.1% and 23% for people of color in Waterbury South End neighborhood. In addition, 10.5% of Connecticut are living below poverty level, compared to 25.1 of Waterbury residents and 52.9% for the South End. And while the city's overall unemployment rate has declined over a 5-year period, 14.3% to 9.3%, the unemployment in Census Tract 3505, as I stated earlier, has been increasing. So high unemployment in the Reba neighborhood, which is short for River Baldwin, due to low educational attainment and lack of job skills, coupled with limited access to comprehensive integrated services such as childcare and transportation, is the focus of our Working Cities Challenge in the South End neighborhood that once was Waterbury's core industrial base. Waterbury's Working Cities Challenge has identified several interconnected system change opportunities, and I'm just going to go over a couple of them. And one of them is restructuring the deployment of supports, such as childcare, after-school programs, and job training, and decision-making processes to focus on a specific neighborhood, including the development of protocols or memorandum of agreement for providers to enable them to integrate and connect services in a defined area. The other one is infusing a 2-generation approach to community engagement and services, determining how education and job training supports can be better aligned to connect residents to employment. And one of the things that we deem to be real critical is, as we know, when it comes to job training, it can be a burden from some to have to take the time to go to that job training, because that means if they're at the job training, and however long that may last, they are more than likely currently are not making any income, or their income is being reduced because they're only working a portion of time while the other time they're at the training. And so, and then when that's all said and done, they're not guaranteed a job or a job placement in any way. They have their certificate or whatever, but it does not guarantee them a job. And one of the things we wanted to make sure of, those that we are working with in the Reba neighborhood, is that that they're connected to employment at the end. So the partnership with employers throughout the state of Connecticut is real key for this initiative to be successful. And exploring the capital acquisition barriers faced by local and small businesses and possible remedies, such as microloans or revolving loan fund. And I will state that come April of 2022, NHS will be implementing a revolving loan fund, so that situation is going to be addressed. Adopting a whole learning city approach by being more transparent and sharing lessons learned during implementation to support successful replication. And one of the things why this is real critical is because out of the 5 neighborhoods that I mentioned earlier that we focused on, 4 of them were, I'll say 3. 3 were located in predominantly Black neighborhoods. One of them was a good mix of everyone, every representation of race here in the city of Waterbury, and then one was predominantly Latino. So there was a push and a pull when it came to some folks saying, hey, this needs to focus in the north end of Waterbury, and some were saying it needs to focus in the south end of Waterbury. So at the end of the day, we allow the information to make the decision, but this to us is sort of like a case study in a way, and we want to make, and whatever we learn from this, we want to make sure that we, after the 10 years is up, or probably even before that, that we start to implement the same initiative in the north end of Waterbury as well. And changing community input mechanisms on major redevelopment projects. And another reason why that is critical is just community input. There's a lot that takes place in cities, and especially here in the city of Waterbury, around major developments and initiatives. And there's very few or very little representation from the neighborhood on how these decisions are being made. When committees are formed, you don't see people of who represent the makeup of that neighborhood on those committees. So we definitely wanted to address that as well. So that is my overview of the Working Cities Challenge. I know that Tomas is going to participate in today's conversation, and he's going to give a more detailed discussion on Reba, Apsira, and how things are going today regarding the Working Cities Initiative. Any questions, or should I just keep going?
I don't see any in the chat, so go ahead, tell us a little bit more about, specific to neighborhood housing services.
Okay, so NHSO Waterbury, we are a nonprofit, HUD certified NeighborWorks America affiliate organization that was founded in 1980 with a newfound mission to build strong neighborhoods and communities of choice through affordable and comprehensive housing development, financial education, and furthering home and community ownership. Our mission reflects the organization's embrace of a broad range of possible business lines and programs to meet its objectives of community revitalization and individual economic empowerment. Our organization has made contributions in the greater Waterbury community, which include providing home buyer and homeowner counseling, workshops, and down payment assistance, assisting victims of predatory lending, providing loans for home purchase, rehabilitation, and refinancing, providing neighborhood facade improvement grants, and constructing rental and home ownership opportunities for low to moderate income households. In addition, NHS has developed and expanded programs that address the real estate market crisis under the umbrella of the Home Ownership Education and Loss Prevention Program. NHSO Waterbury is currently a significant provider of home ownership training and foreclosure and loss mitigation counseling services in the greater Waterbury, greater Danbury, and Torrington areas, which encompasses about approximately 51 cities and towns within our service area. But we do serve all of Connecticut, and we've also served folks who live outside of the state of Connecticut. Additionally, NHS serves as a resource center and conducts auditing services for Unite CT, which is the Connecticut Rental Assistance Program. And NHS programs and activities include financial literacy, education and counseling, home ownership promotion and preservation, education and counseling, landlord education, community building and engagement, which works in tandem with our real estate development. And now we're adding community lending as well. And our role, where we feel that we're going to play a role with the Working Cities Challenge grant as a co-lead agency, definitely comes with the revitalization of the South End neighborhood, providing home ownership opportunities for people in the neighborhood, providing affordable, but also, I should even say affordable home ownership opportunities, but also creating affordable rental opportunities and quality housing. Some, if not a lot of the housing stock in the South End is in bad shape. And then the other thing is, of course, working with people from a financial standpoint and improving their financial situation as best as possible. So as we are placing folks with job and higher income, we also want to work with them to manage that just as well, so that the money that they are bringing in and supporting the household is also going to support them in the long run and increase their assets. So I will end it at that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions? I don't see any in the chat. Yep, you can go ahead to the next slide. So I apologize again for the issues with the tech, but anyway, we've got it now. I am Christine Yang. I'm a project manager with SVP. And for those of you that are new to SVP, our contact information will be at the end. Please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to let you know more about the organization. But strategically, you know, even before maybe I had joined the organization a couple of years ago, SVP identified Waterbury as a priority. You heard a lot about you know, some of the statistics from Kevin, which also means opportunity. And so we've been learning about organizations like Neighborhood Housing Services, like Reba, Apsira, and trying to figure out where SVP can collaborate in increasing the impact. In addition, our Race Equity Fund, you know, made inroads into Waterbury and met with a lot of organizations and leaders there to sort of help pave the way. And what we wanted to do, we kind of outlined a year ago to create an initiative where we would be engaging with the community, learning, listening, figuring out what the needs are, and with the needs of those specifically to those nonprofits, and, you know, taking the next step to figure out how best we can work together. Sorry, you can probably go to the next one. Yeah. So, oops, go back one. So some of the, and I'm not going to belabor the statistics, but because, and Kevin, you know, highlighted some of them, but obviously there are significant challenges in Waterbury. You know, almost 73% of students qualify for free and reduced price lunch. You know, 24% of households are below the poverty level. It's obviously quite a diverse community and a significant number of immigrants and Spanish-speaking residents, especially in the Reba neighborhood that we'll hear more about. Lack of education, which Kevin talked to. So obviously significant challenges. But if you look at the next slide, one of the ways we started when we began engaging with the organizations was to ask our organizations and our team comprised of Waterbury residents or those involved in nonprofits to let us know one word that described Waterbury. And we collected all of those and created a word cloud. And the interesting thing to me is that what comes out as the most mentioned words are things like potential and collaborative and hopeful, which tells me that there is, I don't know, it's an exciting time and an opportunity to be engaging with the many nonprofits and being able to hopefully increase the impact and change lives in the city. And, you know, as part of that path, we've started engaging with Kevin, with Tomas, who you'll hear from, Althea, and many others. You can go to the next slide. So we started off, this is our team. I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to those who've helped and are continuing to help in the process. Our project leads, Catalina, Julie, and Althea. I'm a member of staff, and then we have a partner team that we're going to lean on more and more as we go further into the process. And the next. So we, you know, best laid plans, and you're going to hear a little bit more about what we learned and what went well. So when we originally set out to do our community engagement, we, you know, sort of thought about how we wanted to go about it. We had a kickoff both in our team. We had a big kickoff with a lot of different nonprofits. We figured out which nonprofits were related to SVP's strategic goals around race equity, around workforce development, early childcare, for example. And out of that, we were sort of anticipating a funnel and that we would kind of get closer to those organizations that wanted to, work with us, that we had the right fit, that we felt like we as SVP could also lend a hand, and then we would learn in the process of what the needs were. And it worked out just a little bit differently. So if you want to go to the next slide, Camille. We had this original vision of sort of moving from, whereas I say our typical SVP project starts at kind of tier 3, where we, fund an organization, we have a project where there's a consulting team, but what we realized, I think, is we needed to have a progression. And what I would say is, for some of the organizations that we've just barely made outreach to, we're still at kind of a tier 1, right? Maybe, or even 0, which isn't here. And some of them, a couple of them, were hoping to move to tier 3. But we realized that it doesn't always work well, or hasn't worked for us in the past, just to jump right in without learning and engaging first. And I think we've had fits and starts in that process, and we're getting there. And it's a back and forth. It's a give and take, certainly. I think the next, I'm going to turn it over to Althea to sort of talk about what we've learned as a group, as a team, in going through this process.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you, Kevin, for teeing us up. But good afternoon, everyone. Althea Brooks from Waterbury Bridge to Success. Glad to be here today to share with you about the Waterbury project. Waterbury is my hometown, born and raised there. All of my, especially my mother's side, is there in the city of Waterbury still. So as far as I'm concerned, it's home for me. Spend a lot of time there in that, with regard to that. But what did we learn from the process of beginning to engage the Waterbury community about the partnership, presence, and investment of SVP? What we did realize is Waterbury is a very unique place. Community engagement with Waterbury, what we recognized is going to take some time and is going to require a sustained effort over time. What we realize is that we have to make some additional connections. I'll read the slide here and then provide some narrative to it. Making the connections can be hard. Even with community leaders working in conjunction with SVP, responses were a bit lackluster. We had folks show up, but I think the follow-up efforts that were made to engage them in the next step of the work, based on what Christine shared around the different tiers of community engagement, we didn't quite make it to tier 2 with a large number of organizations. For resource-constrained nonprofits, investing time learning about new partners is not always a priority. And that can be a challenge, but I think also getting to know who SVP is. Like who is the organization SVP? What does it represent? What are its intentions is also a factor. So because nonprofits tend to be resource constrained, if they're going to invest time and effort into engaging a potential new partner, even if it is a new funder, they need to know more about them. And then lastly, we are committed to continuing the community engagement efforts. And I think that does continue. We're excited about the next steps that we are taking, and conversations with nonprofits about providing kind of a parallel process as we continue to engage the current partners, and really thankful for Kevin's background on the Working Cities Challenge and what's going on in neighborhoods, but also the great work of Reba, Apsira Career Academy that you'll hear about, that it may seem that it's, one particular nonprofit or initiative, but it's really going to have a very, very broad impact. But a parallel process around the engagement will include a different version of connecting and learning. And that's for the Waterbury community to connect and learn with SVP. So we'll continue the collaboration discussions with organizations that want to partner, as I said, which is Reba and Neighborhood Housing Services and potentially one other. and then identify capacity building projects to submit for the May investment cycle specifically for that nonprofit or those nonprofits. But the key thing I think that's going to make this relationship and presence and support of SVP impactful is that we're going to have to shift the outreach strategy. SVP has celebrated a great reputation in the southern part of the state, but also as it has attempted to move into other cities. And I think we can have that in Waterbury, but we can't take a cookie cutter approach, right? It can't be a prepackaged kind of product that we just submit or present to communities and assume that they will embrace it. I think it's important for us to consider the nuances and characteristics of the community and ensure that they know who SVP is as a brand, as a partnership and membership, but also as investors in nonprofits. So the design and delivery of the series is going to be similar to the Connect and Learns that SVP does, with very dedicated topics relevant to Waterbury nonprofits. There's a lot of emerging and grassroots organizations that are volunteer driven. So ensuring that we have workshops that would appeal to them. And then they'll get to know a number of the members who are associated with SVP and the work that can actually help to support their respective organizations and get them to the next phase of their organization's development and hopefully expand their impact in the city. Next slide. So just a little bit about my organizations for those who may not be aware about BTS. In 2010, we were established as the state's first cradle to career initiative. Not sure what happened with the slide. There are 4 across the state, and I do believe the partnership is familiar with 2 of the 3 others, and that's Bridgeport Prospers, who's connected with the United Way of Central Connecticut Coast, Fairfield County. Did I say that correct? Or that's too many words. It's one of the longer named United Ways. And then Norwalk Acts, and the 2 of them are led by Allison Logan and Jennifer Barahona, respectively. The other is in Stamford, which is a part of the Stamford United Way called Stamford Cradle to Career, and it's led by Edith Presley. Our mission for Bridge to Success, we definitely with the vision to families being liberated and successful, is that in order for Waterbury's children, youth and families to be successful in school, career, and life, we seek to facilitate the dismantling of policies, practices, and beliefs that have historically disenfranchised and marginalized stakeholders to co-create sustainable, equitable systems. And we do that by shifting power to youth, families, and communities that support Black, Indigenous people of color from cradle to career. BTS, in partnership with the broader Waterbury community, envisions a city where all stakeholders, particularly the BIPOC individuals, and that they're able to enact change that moves to them collectively from surviving to thriving in a racially equitable, just, and liberated city. So that's the mission and vision for Bridge to Success. Thanks so much. Am I turning it back over to you, Christine?
In case you had an issue. But Reba Apsira is one organization that we as SVP, have started to engage more with and learn more about, in particular because they are operating very much in the, workforce development space. And it's in coordination, as Kevin described earlier, with the Working Cities Challenge in order to address the barriers that are particular to the Reba neighborhood, lack of childcare. It's a childcare desert. We hear a lot about that. In Connecticut in general, they have a significant number of the population that are usually Spanish speaking. And so the Reba offers ESL classes. They try to address the gaps in terms of transportation to jobs because there isn't, I believe there's not a good transportation infrastructure, well, in Waterbury in general, but especially in the south end of Waterbury, which is the neighborhood we're talking about. So Reba is there to help address a lot of these issues. If you want to go to the next slide, Camille.
Sure.
So specifically, their key programs, they offer ESL classes. They have a GED program. And a lot of this is on site because they know that residents may not be able to get to you know, the other end of Waterbury or one of the other neighborhoods in order to access them. Career coaching, life skills. They've even offered CNA training. So in the healthcare field, as well as most recently, childcare in home. So to become, you know, the entrepreneurs, essentially, the opportunity to become an in-home childcare provider, especially in the neighborhood, which sort of solves the two issues, which lack of childcare, as well as, oh good, Tomas is, I just saw Althea said that he's had a problem with the link, so he's going to join by phone. So he can certainly tell you. Oh good, yay. Tomas is here. I was just talking a little bit about your key programs, but if you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about Reba.
Yes, I do apologize. I had the wrong link and I was waiting for a little while. But yeah, my name is Tomas Olivo. I'm the initiative director for the Working Cities Challenge in Waterbury. And our goal is basically to provide equitable access to a very particular community in the South End that is struggling in many different areas. But they identified 3 different areas, which are ESL, GED, and childcare as the main areas towards that are barriers towards employment, sustainable employment, as well as job training opportunities. So we develop partnerships with different entities in Waterbury to be able to provide these services to that particular community. And so we created a community hub, a center in which these partners provide services on site. That being adult ed, the workforce board, and they provide services on site. We also secure funding towards ESL, and we provide childcare for all of our programs. So obviously we want to make sure that parents have access to our services. And they actually said that that's one of the barriers, childcare. So we decided to do that. That's one of our core, our strongest points. And so we also provide some job trainings. We have done CNA, and recently, as Christine was just saying, we just completed a class of 19 participants that became certified to be childcare providers. So out of those 19, there are already one that is fully licensed in operating, and there's another 6 that are in the process of becoming licensed. So, you know, and we do many other things, including, you know, community engagement. Part of our goal is to make sure that our community has a voice, and making sure that we provide opportunities for the community to come together and get to know each other, and create a voice, create a life. So I don't know if you guys have any particular questions. I do apologize again for this.
I don't see any questions, Tomas. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of what you see as coming next, and ways in which maybe SVP or other community partners might be able to sort of help you down that path?
Yes, thank you for that question. Yesterday I had a call with the Boston Feds and some of the other initiative directors in Connecticut, and I think we're all in agreement that the younger generation is looking for ways to become independent. And so our goal now is, I think where I see us going is trying to create opportunities for people who want to start their own businesses, or have businesses ideas, or they don't know where to go, where to turn. And so I think we were all in agreement that has to be a focus to what we're doing. And I mean, we kind of have been doing that, because with that childcare provider training, we're providing basically the opportunity for people to own their own business, But if they don't want to do that, they can also work in a childcare center. But also people who want to own a food truck, people who want to open a business, you know, we want to make sure that they have the information and the right connections to be able to do that. So I wanna definitely head in that direction, as well as continuing to provide what we are providing, which is in high demand, the ESL class with the GED, the CNA, and making sure that we're also making connections with our local colleges. I'm also part of the Bridge to Success College and Career Pathways. We really need to make sure that our people have access to higher education, not just job trainings, but making sure that, you know, if we want people to have a sustainable income and to break that cycle of poverty, we want to make sure that they also have access to higher education and those opportunities.
Great. I wanted to see if there are any questions, or I wanted to open it up in general. If there are questions just about, not just about Reba, Apsira, but any of what we've talked about. I think you're seeing us in the sort of creation learning stage still. Us as SVP, you know, neighborhood housing services, Reba, Apsira. As organizations, we're learning about each other. You know, needs, capacity building, especially, which is one way, you know, SVP is able to help, but also sort of the strengths and the strengths of the community as well. And, you know, we're, like Althea was talking about, sort of developing and designing and trying to shift the way we move forward to make sure that, you know, we're reaching all the organizations that we can. If you are participating as well today and you're representing an organization that maybe we as SVP haven't talked to, please reach out. Would love to, you know, talk with you more. I'm looking, any questions? We have a very quiet group today. Or any other thoughts, either from Kevin, Althea, or Tomas?
Just want to say real quick that I think there's a very particular focus in job training when it comes to the workforce boards. And I want to reiterate that we want to make sure that we're setting people up for success and for something that they actually enjoy doing. And that's where the conversation is heading. So when we talk about system change, what can we do as a whole to make sure that people, they just don't have access to manufacturing trainings and CNA trainings, but also what else can we do to make sure that they're successful?
Right, supporting them in all aspects. Yep. And I think that sort of dovetails into the work that, you know, Kevin does as well around making sure that they're, you know, not that they just have a job, but stable housing, and, you know, that all of that, I don't know, neighborhood support. And I know you guys work a lot together and collaborate in making that possible.
Yes, I just wanted to add to, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Hayden. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Northwest Regional Workforce Investment Board. Happy to be here today. Great presentation. And, you know, we worked very closely with Kevin with our Youth Build grant, along with Tomas and Althea. So great cast you have on here today. And as Tomas referred to as, you know, the Workforce Board, you know, we do have the federal and state job training dollars that flow through our office, you know, throughout the whole Northwest region, which we cover 41 towns and municipalities. So, and I know, I'm not sure if all of you are aware about the Career Connect application that was just launched, that $62 million investment through Governor Lamont and the Office of Workforce Strategy. So, you know, we're happy to help in any way that we can. You know, we are on calls all the time with Althea's group and Tomas. Like I said, we've worked in the past with NHS. So a lot of great folks here at the table, and any support that we could lend to, to help folks get back into the workforce or into job training, we are here to help.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. And for folks who don't know, yeah, the Career Connect program is a significant initiative, and a lot of, I guess, funds are flowing into the workforce development space, and exciting to see. And I think some of the hope is that it's going to be able to reach, or the intention is to be able to reach people who maybe aren't usually reached by those types of programs. And so any way we can help as well to help that, move forward and help coordinate. I know others at SVP are doing that as well. So thank you. Any other questions or thoughts, or anybody? I know we have some time. I know if there are new folks, would you want to introduce yourselves? I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're welcome to.
I'm happy to make a comment. I'm Carol O'Donnell with the Harold Webster Smith Foundation, and have worked in Waterbury for decades as a former VP of programs at the Connecticut Community Foundation. So I'm very familiar with the Working Cities Challenge, and was happy to see was there from the beginning in terms of the launch, as well as Waterbury Bridge to Success. I think I just want to underscore what Althea mentioned, which is one of the things that always struck me with Waterbury. It's a city of neighborhoods. And so really strong neighborhoods, I think more so than even some of the other cities in the state. And then with that, I think the growth of the grassroots organizations. So there's really, I think, great opportunities to address what the real needs of residents are in the city by working with those organizations. And then as a city, we're fortunate to have, collaborative efforts already in place. But I think, as Althea and Kevin have also mentioned, that it's a real capacity issue. That's always been Waterbury, unlike some of the other cities, has a lot of smaller nonprofits. And so whenever we call upon them, and I know I've done this in the past, it's still a burden for them because they're trying to do direct service and then also take the time to collaborate. So I'm very happy that SVP is coming into Waterbury. But as I say, I just want to underscore what my colleague Althea had already pointed out.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone else would like to share or introduce yourself? No? Well, I want to just thank everyone again, Tomas, Althea, Kevin, especially for presenting, Martha for, helping us organize behind the scenes, and Camille for saving me with the presentation today. And I appreciate everyone taking the time to learn more. You will receive the slide deck as well. This is being recorded, so you can always, feel free to watch it or share it, whatever it might be. Our contact information is at the back of the PowerPoint that'll be sent out as well if you want to reach out to any of us. Well, thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.